meeting for today, Monday, June 17th. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
Present.
Councilmember Hammond,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Here.
Mayor Garrett.
Here. We're all here. I invite the audience and council to say the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Someone like to make a motion for approval of the agenda?
Do we want to switch to the agenda?
Just, we don't do the approval. I'm trying to
I'll make
say
a motion
something.
to approve the agenda as written. Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to move that we swap item 5A, the presentation from Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, with item 5B, presentation from Commissioner Yolanda Smith-Charles. Second. Got enough time?
Didn't we already do the motion?
Yeah.
Yeah. You already did, you did the motion twice.
Sorry.
So
We're switching it,
he's
so I
he's
just
a
roll call,
motion-
please.
yeah.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes.
Motion passed.
He didn't like his first motion,
I
so
guess
he had to change it.
So, Commissioner Yolanda Smith-Charles, would you please come up to the podium, please?
Thank you. Good evening, wonderful Lathrop Village leadership and community residents, citizens. Mike Green, it's great to make your acquaintance as well. Is this thing on? You can hear me okay? Okay. Well, first and foremost, I would be remiss, I was asked by Ashanti Bland, president of the Southfield Board of Education, to thank Jalen and Jason and Kelly for making some time to come to the ribbon cutting at Adler Elementary School today. So that's probably why we're all a little shiny. But the exciting reason I'm here today is because you have many amazing residents. But there was one resident who really just impressed me a couple of months ago at your local women's commission. I may be using the wrong term, but basically like a women's club that you've had for many years. And I met so many wonderful people, including the awardee today. So the County of Oakland, I should mention, I'm the county commissioner that represents this fine city, Lathrop Village. I also represent half of Southfield, Olive Oak Park, and Olive Royal Oak Township. And so each commissioner is given an opportunity to nominate an older adult in the community that they think are just super and outstanding. And so while there are many, Miss Loretta DeLoach was one who really rose to the top. And so I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts as I have Miss Loretta. I'll have her come up in just a moment. I don't want her to have to stand up here for a long time or anything, but Ms. DeLoach has been a Lathrop Village resident for 43 years. You all recognized her last year, if I'm not mistaken, which is where I gleaned a lot of this wonderful information, so shout out to you all. But she is particularly involved with the Lathrop Village Women's Club and its outreach activities. She has volunteered with the Good Fellows, Forgotten Harvest, Meals on Wheels, and as a community representative on the Lathrop Village Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Many village events and with Hope United Methodist Church working to help those facing food insecurity. A certified fashionista with 7 closets in her home filled with apparel, one of Loretta's greatest passions is the clothing closet, where she volunteers as a clothing distributor to those in need. Her friends jokingly say that she acts like she's working at Nordstrom's or Saks Fifth Avenue while volunteering. And her bio does go on to talk about having faced many tragedies in her life, but one thing that she has decided is that her faith is going to be the thing that gets her through, and that she doesn't let her age define her and never has. You all are aware of the rule of how to identify Miss Loretta's age. We know that it's 9 + 0. There's no other way that you're allowed to say that, so be mindful. And she does believe that being silly is the secret to her longevity. So please, Miss Loretta, do come up, accept this recognition, certification of you. And this is presented, I'll hold it up just so that the elected officials officials can see. But it's basically a recognition for you of our 2024 Outstanding Older Adult Award for the County of Oakland. Congratulations.
You deserve it. Good job.
Take a photo with us by special request. Oh, don't go away. We need a photo. Is this where you guys normally sit?
Yeah, right up front.
Okay.
We're coming around.
Mayor here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Would you like a few words?
No, I just want to say thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And if anybody wonders why it's 9 plus 0, is that when I was turning 80, I thought that sounded really freaking old. I really did. I mean, I was going to 80 and I said, oh my God, that sounds so old. Needless to say, I had 10 years to think about that. So when it came, I said, if I couldn't say 80, I know I can't say N-I-N-E-T-Y. So I can spell it. And I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to say it, so that's why I come up with 9 plus 0. But when I was interviewed before, they asked me, why did you think I was here so long? So I feel that the Lord has kept me here to volunteer. I am here to volunteer. That's me all the way. Thank you so very much. I appreciate everybody.
Oh, right on time. Just hold your microphones, don't put them on.
Okay.
So next on the agenda will be the presentation from Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib for the FY 2024 Community Project Funding, and you can come right to the mic.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mayor, for allowing us to present this check. I usually come with balloons. I grew up with watching the Publishing Clearinghouse commercials. And so when we started doing these about 3 budgets ago, I told my team I'd like to present the big check. So we're really proud. One, thank you for entrusting us and having us work with your team. It was a great, I think, over an hour meeting to talk about some of the priorities for the city. We chose this project because we knew it fit with many of my colleagues, both sides of the aisle would support it. It easily passed subcommittee, mayor and council members, and so we were really, really happy. We got the amount of $959,752 for water replacement project, which I know is going to be a huge lift for especially the general fund. This is one of many. Hopefully, in the future, we want to make sure that we continue to work with you and others on various priority projects. But this is already in the works, should already be in contact. I know it goes through different federal agencies. They do webinars, just so you know, and then keep track. But this, as long as it's obligated within a year, which I know it will be, we'll be good to go. But thank you again for entrusting my team and I. You were great to work with on this. We're already working on 2025 projects already, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And just to also reiterate that this is Larthrup Village's first time receiving the congressional discretionary funds.
We call them community funded projects, but they are earmarks.
Thank
We
you.
just don't call them that anymore.
Thank you.
We like community funded projects as a better term, but yeah, they are a directed line item for different communities.
No, we appreciate you, and I'm sure that you want us to come back out
Yeah,
there.
you
and
can
take another
if
picture.
you'd
Okay.
like, yeah.
Here we go.
I'm sorry I didn't bring the balloons.
Next time.
At the last presentation, like,
I would love a big check.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. This is fun.
Yeah. I usually, like, I didn't get Secretary Yolanda to sign all the checks. It's fine. Yeah.
Always wanted a big check.
Of course. for trusting us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's put it right here.
Put on.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. How exciting, so exciting things happen. Okay. Now, whoever took those pictures, please send them to my phone. Thank you. We are at public comment. Anything that is on the agenda, you may speak about. You have 3 minutes for anything that's on the agenda. Anyone want to speak, please come up to the podium and state your name.
Rick Wiz. I'm not sure if this belongs here or under new business, but I just wanted to get the comment out there. 2 weeks ago, the Larthrup Village Women's Club celebrated their 85th anniversary of working with and for the village. Highlights of their history included everything from sponsoring dinner dances, rolling bandages during wartime.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wiz, is the Women's Club on the agenda? Am I missing something? Okay,
I
so
was
this
thinking
is
this
for
might be-
things that's on the agenda, right now, for public comment.
Right, I was thinking this might be under fee schedule or possibly partnership agreement, or if I'm wrong, I'll just wait until the end of the
Go
meeting.
ahead, finish. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay. Rolling bandages during wartime to purchasing land and providing funds for the community room and kitchen. Well over $2 million worth in today's dollars for just those two things. In light of these contributions, I believe it only fair that council consider granting this organization free use of the community room and kitchen in perpetuity. It wouldn't exist if they hadn't built it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak or something that is on the agenda? Nope. Okay. So I always have trouble with this. It's a lot. We're going to adjourn the council, city council. So.
Take a motion to adjourn
Yes.
as council and reconvene as the zoning board of appeals.
Yes.
Do we want to, before we do that, do we want a motion for excusing Jalen, or,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to excuse Dalton Barksdale from tonight's meeting.
second?
Oh.
Oh, well, for discussion.
We'll discuss it later. It's been moved to second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes. Okay, I take a motion to adjourn the city council regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the council regular meeting and reconvene as the zoning board of appeals.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded, and we are adjourned as city council. And now I'm calling to order the zoning board of appeals. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
Present.
Councilmember Hammond,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Present.
Mayor Garrett.
Present. First up is a ZBA public hearing for 26415 Meadowbrook Way. If there is anyone that would like to be heard regarding this zoning board of appeals, or this appeal, I should say, please come to the microphone, state your name.
If you'd like, Madam Chair, I could introduce this
Oh,
before
absolutely.
you conduct the public hearing.
Sure.
The planner's not here tonight. He's asked me to step in his place, but very briefly, in your packet, there is a review letter from the planners, Giffords Webster, regarding this dimensional variance request for, as you stated, 26415 Meadowbrook Way. The applicant, Mr. McBroom, has submitted his variance request. This property is a corner lot, so its configuration is a little bit different than normal. It actually is the frontages of both, on both sides well, facing both streets is considered to be a front yard. So based on that interpretation, there is a minimum setback requirement of 40 feet in a front yard. So the portion of the home that faces Meadowbrook Way satisfies that requirement. However, they're proposing, the portion of the home that fronts Middlesex Avenue is what's considered a legal non-conforming use. Currently, it sits 36 and a half feet from that setback. So it's already encroaching into the required setback, but because the property was constructed in the 1950s prior to the enactment of the zoning ordinance, it's a legal nonconformity. They are proposing an expansion to the existing home which would increase that encroachment by 6.5 additional feet. So it would be a total encroachment of 10 feet into the setback. There only would meet, they would only be setback 30 feet from the property line, and that most homes would be considered their side yard, but this is considered a second front yard. So there are 8 criteria under the zoning ordinance that this body is to consider when considering variance requests. Those are outlined in the planner's letter. I can go through those if you'd like. Okay. So first is because of a particular physical surrounding, shape, topographical condition of the specific property involved, a particular hardship will result to the applicant if the strict letter of the regulations are carried out. Mere inconveniences or increased development costs shall not be deemed hardships under the terms of this provision. As previously stated, the subject site is a corner lot, and as such, it has 2 front property lines requiring that additional 40-foot setback on both sides. The second criteria is the factual circumstances upon which an application for deviation are based are unique to the property for which the deviation is sought and are not applicable to the city generally or to other properties within the same zoning classification. Any alleged practical difficulties or unnecessary hardships caused by this ordinance has not been created by any person presently or previously having an interest in this property. And while it wasn't noted by the planner, I think it's important to point out with respect to this condition that although the orientation of the house is kind of skewed on the property, which causes that encroachment, at the time that the house was created, the ordinance weren't in place. So if
The ordinance what?
the zoning ordinances were not in place. So there was no prohibition on orienting it that way. There was no minimum setback. So in my interpretation of the ordinance, this would not be a hardship that's created by, because not only is it the current owner, but it's any predecessor in ownership. So in my opinion, it's not a hardship that would have been created by a predecessor because there was no regulation that prohibited that orientation of the home. Fourth criteria is proposed deviation will not adversely affect the purpose or objectives of this ordinance, nor impair the adequate supply of light and or air to adjacent property, nor increase the hazard from fire, flood, or other dangers of said property, nor diminish the marketable value of adjacent lands and buildings, nor increase the congestion in public streets. Fifth criteria, the proposed deviation will not otherwise impair the public health, safety, comfort, and general welfare. 6, the benefit to the applicant will be real and substantial, and any detriment to the neighboring property owners and occupants or the community at large is not substantial or is illusory. Benefits and detriments shall be determined in relation to the factors which impair the value and use of the properties as related in items 4 and 5 above. 7, the applicant is willing and able to provide additional amenities beyond those minimally required by this ordinance and or restrict the use of the property beyond those limitations placed on the property by this ordinance, so that the fair market value of the neighboring properties will be enhanced beyond the values which would accrue to them if the property were developed and used in strict conformity with the ordinance. The planners had noted in their review letter that street imagery from prior years showed a number of trees and shrub removal from the Middlesex Avenue frontage. A review of current, it does appear that the property owner has addressed those issues and actually installed additional planting, so I just wanted to note that update. And then lastly, the same or similar request shall not have been presented to the council in a form of a petition for a zoning amendment or have been expressly denied or rejected after a public hearing, and there have not been any previous requests with respect to this site.
Thank you.
There's one more, isn't it?
That one's not applicable, but that would be any special criteria listed for specific deviations, but there aren't any for this type of a dimensional variance request.
Thank you. So if there is, again, if anyone wants to come and be heard, please come to the podium and give your name.
Good evening, I'm Mr. McBroom. I'm the owner of the property. This is kind of a full circle moment for me, to be honest, because the whole way I found out about Larthrup Village was 13 years ago when I was a day laborer on my contractor Billy Courier's crew over on San Diego. So I drove in and out of this beautiful village every day, just even taking extra time to drive around all the streets. So it's kind of, you know, now that I'm here and I have the opportunity to improve my property, which my wife and I was our first house in 2014, and our family has grown. I have two little ones. I'm 48 years old. I didn't plan very well on that, but you know. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and part of the reason we had to get the fence approval that we got already about a month ago is my 1-year-old just loves to run the street. So that was a consideration, but it's really just a factor of quality of life and being able to have more space as they take up so much. And our goal with the uniqueness of the property is to have something that's, you know, symmetrically and ergonomically appealing to that corner curb appeal. And that's our only goal with the situation here. The next door neighbor I had who lived next to me about 10 years ago, he kind of was an inspiration because he bought the house at the bottom of market value in 2009, and he fixed the whole thing up, and he sold it for so much more, and then he bought the house right across the street, and then he went another street down, and everybody in the neighborhood was just like, wow, he's really inspiring for what he can do. So that was kind of my inspiration for the same reason, not just the practical purposes of my family, but the ability, you know, like they say, high tide raises all boats. And that's my purpose for getting the chance to come and talk to you today. So I appreciate the time and the consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard? All right, well then I will close the public hearing, and next we request to approve the 26415 Meadowbrook Way setback request. Who would like to make that?
I'll make a motion to approve the setback variance request for 26415 Meadowbrook Way.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
So Scott, I'm just, the only thing I'm struggling with here is the hardship. So the fact that it's an odd-shaped lot and the fact that it's got two front side yards, I mean, had it been not an odd-shaped lot, it would have been, you know, straight and this wouldn't be an issue.
Correct.
Is that enough to consider as a hardship?
Again, I think, as I previously stated, the orientation of the home is somewhat unique. It's perpendicular to Meadowbrook Way, which, you know, but the driveway is off of Middlesex Avenue. So, and I think at the time when the home was built, like as I stated, there were no zoning restrictions. There were no minimum setbacks. There were no special provisions for corner lots. So that the orientation of the home is, I believe, a unique situation that could justify this board granting the requested relief.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hammond, did you have something?
Yeah, I do. I guess I'm thinking about the ordinance doesn't exist when the house was built. But expanding it sort of exacerbates the encroachment on the ordinances exist now, right? So there's a little, I mean, they seem contradictory, I guess, to me a little bit, you know?
A little bit. Typically, again, because typically it's not, you don't want to enlarge or enhance a non-conforming use. Again, in this situation, I mean, if you look at the review from the planner, it's, you know, it's a fraction of his actual addition. It's just, again, it's strictly because of the orientation. I'm sure he could, you know, create some sort of a modern angled type octagon-shaped addition that would satisfy the requirements of the ordinance. Again, as the applicant has stated, that would kind of deviate from the harmonious look of the home and the other homes in the area. It is a worthy point to bring up, but again, I think the applicant has demonstrated that there is a unique hardship here. And again, if this body is so inclined, I think they're justified in granting that requested relief.
Was the additional landscaping, was that put on the Middlesex side, or was that on the?
I don't know what the planner was referencing, because when I went through and I looked, I did note that it looked for a period of time, some of the aerial images, that there was an area cleared out. I also noted that there's a utility easement that runs through the back of the yard. I don't know if it was directly related to that or not. It doesn't appear that it's a developed easement. It's probably just a reserved one for overhead wiring. But it did appear that when I viewed the current view of it, that there was an unbroken landscape barrier. I don't know that, and Mr. McBroom could probably add more to that, but I don't know that it would even be visible from the street, this addition, based on, at least in the summertime, based on the vegetation that's currently there.
Any other discussion?
It does look like, based on the position of the home, the lot size, that it doesn't really add any additional disruption, is maybe the wrong word, but the neighbors aren't really gonna be impacted by this. Just based on looking at aerial photos and the renderings in the agenda packet, build this part of the house out towards the second front lot, property line, and it doesn't look like the neighbors are gonna actually be able to see it much at all.
And it's weird because I'm familiar with the house, and I know it's basically it's the front, but it's like his backyard almost. So
Yeah.
do you know if there's like do we know like how many other properties are like kind of have this hardship with where they were built before the ordinance?
That I don't know, and again, this body, it's to look at each parcel individually and uniquely, not necessarily the city as a whole. I'm not familiar with, in my time with the city, I'm not familiar with any prior requests to expand an encroachment into a corner lot. I'm not familiar with how many of them would be considered legal non-conforming uses. I imagine there's probably a couple though, just the orientation of the streets and the kind of the curvy roads that we have here.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. I will ask for adjourn of the ZBA and reconvene as city council.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the zoning board of appeals and reconvene as the city council.
Second.
Second, we are adjourned and we are reconvening. We don't have to do roll call for the reconvening of the city. Okay, thank you. So next, we're gonna go to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda
Can you move?
with the removal of item, what was the item?
Budget report, page 60.
The budget report, item 6D.
Wait a minute, for the consent agenda?
From the, the consent agenda, item,
8D.
where is it?
You want to remove 8C from the consent
8C.
agenda.
So you're removing disbursement report? Okay,
Second.
it's been moved in second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes. So disbursement, oh, you're just taking it out, period, not to discuss it.
Take it out and then I'm going to discuss it. Yeah.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
then, you do want to discuss it or
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
first we'll make a motion to approve the disbursement report.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this page here because there's been a lot of confusion in the community. We've heard a lot of comments and read a lot online the last couple of days. The report, to somebody who's not familiar with using this report, you look at this report and you think, oh my God, the city has spent $2.5 million more, has spent $2.5 million more than they have. There's people talking about, emergency managers and, running wild with this. The issue is you really need to understand how to read this report. So first of all, the first line in the report which shows the general fund, that's probably the most important thing here, and it's showing that we're about $290,000 of revenue over expenses. Now that'll come down because we still have 1 month left of expenses in the fiscal year, so that will come down somewhat. But the rest of it, for the most part, you need to look at this report from the perspective of the analogy that I made when we talked about it earlier is, let's say you're saving to buy a car over 5 or 6 years, and so you're putting aside $10,000 every year, and you're going to buy that car on that sixth year. So on that 6th year, when you purchase that car, if you look at just that year, it's going to look like you have spent way more than you have. But what you're not taking into account is the fact that you've saved and planned for that particular expense. So for example, in the major street fund, which shows $460,000 of more of expense than revenue, what you're not seeing there is that we, over the last 5 years, have purposely saved about $1.3 million in the major road fund, knowing that these expenses are going to be coming down the pike, and now we're at the point where we're actually spending that money. In addition, there's also revenue that hasn't come in yet, that will before the end of the fiscal year. So, you know, we had also the $300,000 expense that we had for Southfield Road and 11 Mile. That's the expense that we had planned for, you know, by saving this money over the last 5 years. Similarly, the same thing with the local street fund. The DDA, they're showing a big negative as well because they made the conscious decision to spend some of their balance to do some of the alleyway projects that they've been, and approaches that they've been working on. Same thing with the water and sewer fund. You know, we've done a lot of water and sewer improvements over the last several years, and so we're still paying for some of those. But we saved the money up. We had bond revenue that was sitting in that account, ready to be spent specifically for that purpose. So it's not, you know, the sky is falling, we didn't plan for this, look at these big negatives. I mean, these are all things that we planned on taking out of savings. The only thing that I do want to specifically point out in this report that is generally confusing is the road millage bond fund shows about $560,000 to the negative. But the reason why that is because this report was run, and then a few days later, the journal entry for the revenue, which was about $633,000, came in. So it actually turns out to be on the positive side, but that journal entry hadn't been made at the time that this report was run. So the sky is not falling. We don't need an emergency manager. This report is not shocking to those of us who see it every month, and so people shouldn't be worried. So I just wanted to point those things out.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Next, we have the action request for consideration of approval. First one is request to approve intergovernmental agreement for lockup services with the city of Berkeley.
So this is something that happens every few years. As you guys are aware, we do not house prisoners here at Larthrup Village City Hall or Police Department, so we have a partnership with the city of Berkeley to do so. So our contract runs up at the end of this month, and we're just looking to renew that for another 3 years. Prices stay the same, everything with the agreement pretty much stays the same, we're just changing some dates.
Thank you. Would like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for lockup services with the city of Berkeley.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved to second. Roll call, is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes. That passes. Next is the request to approve the FY 2024-25 fee schedule.
So we briefly talked about this in our study session, but this is a best practice, especially the new administration wants to start doing every single year. Or around this time and throughout the budget cycle, we actually review our fees we are charging for all of the services within the city. So including your packet, it's a mixture of the old fee schedules we could find, plus reviewing minutes for the past year or so, to try to put this document together. Naturally, the formatting is going to change a lot, but including your packets, everything that we wish, or we are recommending to change, highlighted in red, and it covers everything from just increasing some fees due to inflation, or covering some of our actual costs, or there's some fees that we've added to cover costs, for example, fire inspections. We've never charged for that service before, but it's a good way for us to recoup some of the costs for paying Southfield to be a fire service provider.
Thank you. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 fee schedule.
Second?
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to thank Mike for this. This is a great thing. Just to put it all in one place and make it real easy for council and residents to review the fees, and also a lot of the changes that he's made were incorporated were some of the things that we had in our January financial report. So I think we appreciate the work to put this together.
Yeah, I want to make a comment. I appreciate it as well. It feels like a right sizing. It had been a long time since the fee schedule had been reviewed to make sure, and like more than just inflation, just the nature of what's in the city and what people are doing with their properties in the city, both businesses and residents. It changes over time, and so the city council needs to very regularly be looking at these things. And it had been a minute, so this is in certain cases it feels like the percentage increase is kind of steep, but if we're doing this on a more regular basis, then maybe we don't have to do additional increases in the next couple of years, but if we do, they'll be much less severe. It also is going to account for the fact that the city staff has to deal with a lot more different types of inspections and services through the fees that maybe they didn't have to in the past. And so instead of just the taxpayers taking the brunt of the cost of that, now the applicants who are trying to do things in the city will be responsible for it.
On page 130, there's under refrigeration AC, it goes from $50 to $65 to $480.
That is a typo. That 4 should be the dollar sign. So it is actually just $80 for that last
Okay.
one. Councilmember Hammond actually pointed that out for me earlier. I've already made that correction in mine. So that
Okay.
one would be $80.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes, that passes. Next is a request to approve the FY 2023-24 budget amendments.
So at minimum twice a year, City Council likes to do budget amendments. Normally mid-year to kind of see where we're at, then end of the year to wrap things up and get us start preparing for audit purposes. Thanks to Michelle and her finance team, we were able to kind of get ahead on this and do a good deep dive into where we are at. So including your packet is our recommended budget amendments for fiscal year 23-24.
Thank you.
Overall, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Overall, general fund, we do look like we are going to net a positive at the end of the year. And then, as Mayor Pro Tem Cantor discussed when we were going over the budget report earlier, the rest of the funds are planned to dip into their fund balances. But overall, we're feeling pretty good. We did a lot of cleanup over the past few months, and we're feeling good going into next year.
Thank you. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 23-24 year-end budget amendments as presented.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Next, we have the first reading, request to amend ordinance chapter 14, buildings and building regulations, article 8. Swimming pools, section 14, 183 fencing.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a direct request from council. Last meeting, it was discovered that the city has had a long-standing zoning ordinance which prohibited chain link fencing. However, there was a loophole, if you will, under the general ordinance provisions as it pertained to swimming pools that allowed a resident to have a chain link fence if they had a swimming pool. So this ordinance update corrects and closes that loophole, requires that the fencing material be consistent with the fencing material requirements that's identified in the zoning ordinance, and that would be one of 4 materials: ornamental iron, wood, composite material, or vinyl.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to schedule a second reading of an update to ordinance chapter 14, buildings and building regulations, article 8, swimming pools, section 14-183, fencing.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor,
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Next will be the first reading, request to amend ordinance chapter 46, miscellaneous offenses, provisions, forfeitures, penalties, article, is that 12?
Yes.
Got it.
Parks and Rec
Fire
protection. I'm teaching myself at home. Who would like to introduce it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll introduce this. Again, this is another request, direct request from council as it relates to the rules for parks and recreational facilities. There are a couple amendments in this. First, specifically identifying the community room as one of the recreational areas that are regulated under this section of the ordinance. And then secondly, just allowing, there was a general prohibition against any commercial activity or events that either charged admission or a fundraiser, required a donation to attend the event. While that prohibition is still going to remain in effect, these amendments do allow council by way of resolution to authorize an event to be held that would require a donation or a ticket or a paid admittance to that event. While we have opened this up, I also highlighted an area of here that I just wanted to bring to council's attention with respect to music levels and the volume of music being played in a park. Currently, the acceptable level is 65 decibels, so anything exceeding 65 decibels, which is roughly the volume of how I'm talking right now, would be a violation of this ordinance. So there's been no ask to change this or review this. Because we're addressing this ordinance now, I just wanted to bring it to council's attention if they so consider to consider that provision and make any changes now would be the time to do that.
Thank you. Would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of the request to amend the ordinance, Chapter 46, Miscellaneous Offenses, Provisions, Forfeitures, and Penalties, Article 12, Parks and Recreation Protection.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion?
It seems we should address the decibel level because that would prohibit our concerts in the park or the music
Right.
festival.
What's the right number?
Yeah.
Do you
That's
have
the
that?
thing. I mean, it's important, sorry.
No, the question was what's the right number, and I don't have a right number for it. That's why, like I said, I just wanted to open it up to discussion because that 65 decibels really is conversational level. I made a comment that when I was drafting these amendments, my Apple Watch alerted me to a loud environment. It was my son playing at 90 decibels, so which is not an uncommon event at a public park to have children playing and laughing and screaming. So we have found, and I'm talking myself into a circle here, but our general noise prohibition ordinance doesn't set a decibel level because it's oftentimes it's difficult to ascertain what that is. I mean, yes, now with people having smart watches, it's easier to tell, but typically, an officer would have to come out with I don't even remember.
A decibel reader of some sort.
There's a special term for it. I know they have them, but and then to capture that sound at that point to be able to justify a citation for exceeding that specific sound level. So the general noise ordinance identifies it's any noise that disrupts the peace and quiet of others, which again is a very subjective measure, difficult to enforce. But again, just something for consideration. Just that level I think is a pretty low threshold for someone that's enjoying a recreational facility to have to adhere to.
The other thing to keep in mind, I think, is that these levels that are stated, are still only only applicable during the hours when the park is actually in use. So this is not saying whatever number we choose to allow noise levels, music levels at, could be done at midnight or 2 in the morning or something like that. It would still only be applicable during the hours of operation of the park.
Or what if we did something like leave it the way it is, but say with the exception of, city-sanctioned concert events or something like that? Could we put some type of wording in like that?
Use the same language that we have for the,
Yeah, we'll have to also authorize by
activity.
resolution, to
Yeah.
exceed that level. Yeah, that's an appropriate amendment.
Yeah.
So the only concern I have about the authorized by resolution of the City Council and Department of Parks and Recreation is that it is also potentially a subjective by the members of the City Council and Parks and Recreation. How do you define that one organization that's holding an event in the park can operate a commercial activity or a fundraiser or a raffle or play music above 65 decibels and another shouldn't? We don't have any guidelines to consistently determine who should be allowed to get an authorized resolution by the City Council and who should not. Yet, maybe we need to consider putting language together for something like that too, just to ensure fairness, equity.
don't
Don't
disagree
disagree with you.
with that.
It's actually a question for the other council members.
Yeah, it's something that this body would have to debate and agree upon whether, and again, I think, I am comfortable with leaving it up to, not necessarily making that into the ordinance, those standards, but leaving it to council's discretion, so that, because again, it's gonna be a consistent, as people come, you'll be creating a precedent for the next applicant that comes and requests a resolution. So having that discussion, understanding what those parameters are, what types of organizations, very similar to the partnership agreement guidelines. Those aren't gonna be an ordinance, but they're going to be guidelines that this body uses to evaluate and make a determination whether or not to enter into partnership agreements. So having guidelines for this body and future bodies sitting in your seat to be able to adhere to does make sense. Necessarily putting it into the ordinance,
Doesn't
I don't
necessarily.
think it's necessary.
Right, so
Like I said, I did want to address the sound level though, just because as it stands right now, arguably anyone having more than a just normal conversation in a park could be held in violation of this ordinance, so.
What did we say when we recently upgraded
The generator.
generators? Was it 90?
I think it was 85 or
85 to
90.
90? Yeah, you're way faster at finding this stuff than I am on my phone, so I'll let you do it.
It's probably not even updated in the.
Yeah.
Let's see, there's a reference in, what section is this? Chapter 6, Development Procedures. 6.1, 12J. Sound. Amplifying equipment is prohibited. The decibel level of any equipment used in association with mobile food vending unit, including generators, shall not exceed 70 decibels, as measured at the property lines. So, yeah, there's one precedent, one example.
Which makes sense, because you wouldn't want the generator to be much louder than talking level anyways.
That's right. You should be able to talk within a
Right.
few feet of a generator, right?
Yeah. Yes, I guess the question is, do we want to up that number?
Or what was your suggestion, city attorney?
I said I didn't have a specific decibel level suggestion, I just, more so was just bringing it up since we
No,
were.
you had something else that you said that your suggestion was, about setting the precedence.
Oh, that was with respect to 70 decibels, sorry, 70 decibels is what we amended the permanent power generator level to.
Okay, so it's
So
the
it's not that
same.
much higher than this actually, but maybe my Apple Watch was off. I was saying that with respect to the approving criteria, that's something that I think this body could just have very similar to the partnership agreement guidelines and how you're going to have a discussion and come to an understanding of what those criteria in evaluating requests for, it's going to be specifically for entities wanting to use that to have a fundraiser, to sell tickets, or, so I don't think it necessarily needs to be included in the ordinance, I just think it's something that could be had a discussion. That could be a standing resolution of the council itself, what the criteria for evaluating requests be.
Yeah, it seems to me to make this simple, we just do the same thing that we're doing for gambling and raffles and for
Right.
commercial activity, which is to add the statement authorized by resolution of the City Council and Department of Parks and Recreation. And then as whatever the resolution that would be passed by the council and Department of Parks and Recreation would include whatever the agreed upon decibel level that would be allowed.
Yeah, yeah, so I'll modify my motion to also change 46-176E to include the language authorized by resolution of the City Council and Department of Parks and Recreation.
A second?
It's been moved a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantor.
Yes.
Councilmember Jennings,
Yes.
Mayor Garrett.
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. City Administrator, do you have anything for us?
The main thing tonight in our audience is our new Community and Economic Development Director, Austin Colson. He started with us last Monday, so I got to drag him along to this meeting tonight. So far, he's been hitting the ground running, so we're excited to see what he's going to bring to the city.
Welcome, Austin. City Attorney,
Nothing from me.
thank you. Reports of boards, commissions, committees versus the DDA. Austin, do you have anything?
Not to put you on the spot or anything, but
Planning Commission,
the planning commission meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow night has been canceled due to a lack of agenda items, so we'll reconvene in July.
thank you, Parks and Rec. Right here, Tree Committee, I wasn't at the last one, they will have a meeting tomorrow at 4:30. Not looking promising for me to be there tomorrow, I might need you to go for that one. If you can, anyway, we'll talk about the school, Southfield School Board.
Yeah, so I would like to thank Southfield School Board for inviting us to the soft opening of Adler Elementary just a few hours ago, actually. So we were all sweating. Thank you, Jason, and Councilmember Jason Hammond and Mayor Garrett for attending with me. It's a beautiful facility, and they're still in the works of finishing it through the summer. But basically, they did all the necessary updates to bring the school up to code, and they will be doing that with all of the schools in Southfield Public Schools, thanks to the bond dollars that Southfield and Lathrop Village residents approved. So that's all I have to share for Southfield Public Schools as of now. Oh, and I was able to attend and confer all Southfield A&T and University High School graduates on, I forget the date, but it was amazing, and I was able to shake hands and just congratulate all of the graduates. They've worked hard. There was a total of, I want to say, $10 million raised in scholarships, so between both schools, so they did an awesome job. So just want to congratulate the seniors as they move on to their next endeavors. That's all I have to share for Southfield Public Schools.
Thank you. Finance Review Committee.
Yeah, so the Finance Review Committee had its first meeting 2 weeks ago, today, I think, 2 weeks ago today. At that meeting, we just basically talked about our goals and objectives as a committee. We did some training to make sure that everybody, was up to speed on all the laws and regulations and rules that we have to follow as a municipality. And then we just very, very briefly touched on what some other communities are doing and what might be some options for us to discuss in our subsequent committee meetings. So,
Thank you. Any unfinished or new business? Don't think so. We have public comment. Speakers can come to the podium to talk for 3 minutes about anything that was on the agenda, not on the agenda, whatever you would like to talk about. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Anybody? Anybody?
going once.
Okay, well then, I guess we're not look at there. Okay.
Council, Ian Ferguson, Lathrop Village. We have a citizen-led and run petition that is circulating in Lathrop Village to get cannabis businesses back on the ballot for November. If you're interested in signing, please feel free to contact me or send me a message on Facebook, and we'll certainly get a petition to you so you can sign. Our goal is to complete this process fairly quickly, and at that point, we'll move to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Anyone else? Going once, okay. Oh, okay, mayor and council comments.
You want to go, or you have? Go ahead.
Well, the first one is just thank you. It's on my list here to thank Jalen and Grace for their wonderful Juneteenth celebration that we had this past Saturday. It was a great event. It was a great day. It was very well attended. People were circulating in and out throughout the whole day, and I think they did a really, really good job of putting that together. Along the same lines, I want to thank the Rec Committee, although I don't see it, no, nobody's here from the Rec Committee, but they've been doing a great job with the Food Truck Fridays. If you haven't been to one, I strongly suggest you go. It's just a great community feel to it. Just hanging out, chatting, having some good food from the food trucks, so that's good. I also want to wish the people who were were affected by the tragedy that happened this past weekend, the 6 victims. I wish them a speedy recovery and wish them and their families well. And then lastly, just want to build on what I was saying about the Finance Review Committee a few minutes ago. We have a town hall scheduled tomorrow for 5:30 downstairs in the community room. We're going to talk again about why we have a financial review committee, what our goals are. Again, we're going to do the same type of education session that we did for the members of the committee, but this time it'll be for the residents to help you understand things like Headley and Prop A and state shared revenue and all the reasons why we feel handcuffed as a city. Like other cities, it's not unique to us. So I guarantee you will definitely learn something if you come. You'll have an opportunity to pose questions to the committee and the council members that'll be there, as well as public comment and so forth. So I really encourage residents to come to that meeting tomorrow. I think it'll be really informative, and I think they'll get a lot out of it.
That's it.
I also want to offer support to the victims of the shooting and their families. It's a tragedy. Gun violence is too prevalent in our society today. County Executive Coulter said in an interview about the other shooting that happened the same day in Rochester Hills that we've gotten too good at responding to gun violence. We need to do better at preventing it. So I agree with him wholeheartedly. I, at this time, don't know exactly what to do specifically, but I think that this is a conversation we need to continue to have in the city. I do appreciate, I want to offer thanks to our public safety officers, the Lathrop Village Police Department, and their cooperation with the County Sheriff's Department to respond to the incident that occurred. I know the investigation is still ongoing, and presumably in the coming days and weeks and months we'll learn more about what happened. In the meantime, we need to let them do their job and not conjecture about what may have happened. Let's let the professionals do what they were trained to do. And I hope everybody in the city feels able to support each other in trying to get through this, because of course, there's going to be some scarring and some trauma that everybody's going to experience when something happens like that, especially in a small, tight-knit community like ours. I think the way to overcome that is by talking to each other and keeping an eye out for each other, and not by just being scared.
So I wanted to thank the residents and surrounding residents of surrounding communities for attending the Lathrop Village sanctioned Juneteenth event on Saturday, June 15th. We had a great time. I would like to ask Grace Green to just stand up and say hi. She was such an amazing help to me. We had to pull this together in such a short notice. So.
Good job, Grace. Thank you.
And her sister, Beyonce. They were an amazing help to me. We pulled this event together in a few short weeks, and it was a success. So I would like to, and it was our 4th annual Juneteenth event, I would like to thank DDA for sponsoring the event, DJ Silk Sturkey for DJing and Hustle Lessons. I would like to thank the mayor for attending and bringing greetings. I would like to thank Mayor Pro Tem Bruce Cantor for attending. Also Parks and Rec, Elaine and the whole team, they donated yard games for everyone to play, so that was amazing. Also, thank you to Lathrop Village Police. They wasn't really the biggest success, but we had like one of the police trucks for kids to kind of tour the front of the police truck So I just want to thank the Lathrop Village Police. They were also heavy at work that day, so I was kind of bothering them just a little bit, but also letting them do their job. So also want to just acknowledge my support for the individuals and the families who were affected by the event that took place on that Saturday morning. And thank you to the police for just doing their investigation and making sure we all feel safe and sound. So just wanted to reiterate that. So thank you again, and thank you everyone for who attended, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Thank you. So real quick, just to talk about the petition to get something on the ballot, that is the democratic right of a organization to want to put something on a ballot, to be a ballot initiative. They do not have to get a permit if they are going around knocking doors to get a petition signed. It's political. It's the same thing as it would be if a candidate was going door to door for signatures or to introduce themselves. And it's a ballot initiative. And I was not the one that started it, just because I did get that note also that I was the one that started that. I did not. But it is a ballot initiative, which means it is it's going to be on the residents to determine whether or not it passes, not anything else. By signing it, you're not agreeing to have marijuana come to the city. It's saying put it back on the ballot. And my understanding from the people that put it together is that the language of the last ballot initiative, which was 2 years ago, was not clear. I am one of those people that just happened to sit here that I figured it out, that yes meant no and no meant yes. And I do recall we had a conversation about that. So it was confusing. So I just want to kind of put some of the what's the word I'm looking for, the rumors to rest about that. A person can go door to door and be on a public sidewalk that's adjacent to a public street to collect signatures for a petition. It's not unlawful. So that's that one. Second one, communication regarding tragedies, and there's been quite a few, believe it or not, that's happened. Actually, when I was thinking about it, it's the last 6 months, it's been a few tragedies. We are working on a communication plan, but as most people will know, we don't have a communications department. We do not have a person that can write press releases. We do not have, well, yeah, we do. But so it falls on, one of us to decide or, come together and do a press release for like we did for Saturday. But we'll do better. The one thing I can say is that the police was on it, and on their Facebook page, the official Lathrop Village Facebook page, they did write on there what happened, which that segues over to, again, just to reiterate, the Villager is not an official Facebook page for the city. Are we on it? Absolutely, we're on it. Do we see things that's happening? Absolutely. Do we bring it to council? Yes, we do. But that's not the way to communicate with anything regarding if there's something going on that you want to let the police know about or let us know about. It's not. It's call the emergency number or call the non-emergency number. So wanted to say that. For Mr. Wiz, regarding the Lathrop Village Women's Club, there are numerous organizations that have helped get Lathrop to be where they're at. Let's just say, for example, the Lathrop Community Foundation, who funds the music. Thank you. I have heat stroke. I'm sorry. That funds the weekly music festivals. They contribute to Lathrop also, and so you're just opening the door for everyone that's done something for Lathrop to get something for free. So I would not support free use for in what did you say, in perpetuity. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I don't think my colleagues would support that either, which I won't look. So, but thank you for bringing it up. That's thank you for bringing it up. Anything else that I said in the other one that I need to say here? I'm not gonna do thank yous.
The children's garden?
Oh, the children's garden, we will, I keep saying we, and I'm not on their board. They will be having a, weeding and planting, it'll be coming out soon. They are looking for more board members, and of course, you can always donate, because they are a 501c3. But from my understanding, Mr. Wiz, also that, it is updated already outside. Obviously, I have not been outside except when I was getting heat stroke at the school. No, I just need to stop saying that. But yeah, so when that comes out, and we have the town hall tomorrow, and I think that's it. Anything else? Did I forget something? Great. So I would take a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Motion to adjourn? Second.
We are adjourned, folks. Thank you for coming out.